you very much for joining us, Andrea. We welcome you to Live Talk.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm really happy to be here.
All right, thank you. Would you mind introducing yourself to those that don't know you?
Sure. So my name is Andrea Sivani. I'm a certified transformational coach and NLP practitioner. And I mostly work with my clients on helping them overcome feelings of self-doubt and building real confidence to go after the things that they really want to do in life, but feel that they can't really achieve or they're not good enough to do it. And I do this by pinpointing and identifying what are the beliefs that are holding them back. And then we work together to change them to more empowering beliefs so they can really step into their true potential and just go after the things they want in life.
Wow, that's really powerful. And I'm glad that we have somebody who's so perfect in that area. You were keeping on highlighting the fact that self-confidence is something that you really work with. So I just have a couple of questions in regards to self-confidence. It is not a secret. Self-confidence is a key for one to really succeed in life, for them to do well. How would you define self-confidence? What's your advice to those people that really struggle with self-confidence?
Sure. So the definition of self-confidence, well, I suppose it'd be good to talk about self-esteem as well, because there's some confusion there. So if we start with self-esteem is your overall view of yourself. So it's very internal. It's how you view yourself, what is your sense of self-worth, how much respect you have for yourself. So it's just an overall picture of how you view yourself. But when we move to self-confidence, it gets a little more specific. It becomes external because it's all about how you feel about and trust in your skills and abilities to do things. So it's external because you showcase your skills and abilities to the outside world. So confidence is basically about your feelings towards your skills and abilities and how much you trust yourself to do that. And for people who don't necessarily feel confident, I would just say, don't worry. You're not stuck there. Confidence is not something you're born with. It's not a personality trait or anything like that. It's actually a skill. And so with any skill, you can always get better. You can develop it. You can become really good at it. So if you don't feel confident right now, don't worry. You're not stuck there. There are things you can do to really overcome that and build on your confidence and get better at things.
All right. Have you ever had an experience yourself where you said, I was in such a space whereby I did not have self-confidence at all?
Yeah.
And how were you able to overcome that?
So I used to really struggle with confidence when I go to interviews. And so after I finished studying, I would apply for jobs and I'd go to interviews and just completely make a fool of myself. I wouldn't be able to, speak properly. I wouldn't be able to say full sentences. My hands would be shaking, my throat would be dry, and I would just be consumed with feelings of self-doubt. I would just be like, I shouldn't be here. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. And it would just be so loud in my mind that I wouldn't be able to even do the interview properly. So it was awful. It was just a complete joke, actually. It would be so funny for people to watch me in those interviews. But anyway, I basically did that for a long time. This was many years ago after I finished my studies, and I eventually just got so fed up with that. And I said to myself, I wish I could just be like somebody else who's just so confident. I know if they went to an interview, they'd be so great at it. And so I had this idea, what if I could just pretend to be that person in that moment and just pretend to be confident in that moment? So I asked myself, who is the one person that I think is so confident and I would just love to be like? And in my mind, all I could think about was Beyonce, because I was like obsessed with Beyonce. And in my mind, she embodies so much. She's so strong, she's powerful, she's confident, she's assertive, she knows herself. I love Beyonce. So then I was like, that's it. I'm just going to be Beyonce in my interviews, luckily I didn't try to sing because that would have been a different story, but I would just go into these interviews and I'd be like, cool, what would Beyonce do? Let's just be her. And instantly I had a mindset shift, because I wasn't trying to, it felt like so much hard work to suddenly just be confident. I didn't have the time to do that at that moment in time. So it just created an instant shift when I was like, cool, for this hour, I'm just going to be Beyonce. I don't need to worry about me. I'm just going to be her. And I began to go to interviews and it really worked for me. I was just like, I don't need to worry about making a fool of myself because I'm trying to be Beyonce and she never makes a fool of herself, So that worked for me a lot. But as I grew older, and also now that I've done my coaching training, I understand this is a really powerful technique, to think of someone, and it becomes easier to become confident when you think of someone else who can do it. But what makes it more powerful, and this is what I teach my clients now, we don't need to look to somebody else to be confident. We should find that within ourselves. We don't need to look to somebody else to want to be like them, because then we'll always feel inconfident. We need to be confident within ourselves. So what I get them to do is I ask them, who is your ideal self? Who are you trying to become? Who would be your ideal version of you? Would they be confident? How do they feel in these situations? And I literally get them to list out in sentences what their ideal self is. And so I ask them to write sentences of I am. So we're speaking in present tense. And they will literally write things like, I am powerful, I am confident, I have high self-belief, I can do anything I want. And when you make a list of that and you realize this is who I'm trying to become, in those situations where you feel inconfident or you find things challenging, you just remember, okay, what would my ideal self do in this situation? And you instantly, if you read that list daily and you train your mind to believe that this is who you are, in those situations, you'll start to feel like, yeah, I'm confident, I'm powerful, I can do this. And it's a really great technique to help you look within yourself and become the better version of yourself that you'd like to be.
When you're concluding answering that question, you highlighted the fact that you need to believe in yourself. Mm-hmm. How does that link with self-confidence when we're talking about believing? And I know that some people have been limited to achieve what they could have achieved because of their belief systems. What would you say concerning belief systems?
Yeah. So I personally think belief systems, they're so important because we make decisions based on our beliefs. So if we feel like we're not good enough for something or we're not confident to do something, there is definitely a belief behind that that's making us feel that way. And it's so important that we dig deep and understand, what is that belief? What are we believing about ourselves? What's the story we're telling about ourselves that's stopping us from doing the things we want to do? When we're born, we're not born and think, okay, I can't do this, I'm not good enough to do that, I'll try this. We don't have any beliefs then. So that tells us that these beliefs are constructed as we grow older. And how are they constructed? We get them from all the experiences that we have. So I'd like to also talk a little bit about the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. Our mind has two parts. You've got the conscious part, which is very logical, it's rational, it's what we think in the present moment. Then you've got the subconscious mind, that is basically like a database of all the thoughts and feelings and emotions and experiences and memories that we've had ever since we're born. So when we're born and up until adulthood, throughout our entire lives, we must experience like millions of things, right? We must have billions of thoughts and feelings. So where do they go? They get stored in our mind, but in our conscious mind, it doesn't have the capacity to store all those, that mass information. So it goes into our subconscious mind and it becomes unconscious. So that means that we're not aware of it, but it's there. So the reason why it's important is because a lot of the feelings that we feel now and the beliefs that we have now, they're probably beliefs that are stored in our subconscious that we're not aware of. The feelings that we feel now, we may not be aware of. Example of this could be, when you're younger and you're a child, let's say you see a spider and this spider jumps on you, and then you're suddenly so scared and you think, oh my gosh, this is so scary, it's going to hurt me. And you get all these feelings of anxiety and stress, and your subconscious mind thinks, okay, this is a dangerous thing. When you see this, it's danger. So it brings up all these feelings in you. As a child, you've associated that experience with those feelings. So as you grow up into adulthood, you're not going to remember that specific moment from when you were like 3 years old. You don't remember that memory, but your subconscious mind has stored it. So when you're an adult and you see a spider and you suddenly feel all these feelings of anxiety and stress, you don't know where it's come from, but you feel it and you think, okay, this is dangerous, I need to stay away. But where that's coming from is from your subconscious mind. It remembers that when you were 3, you saw a spider, you got scared, it's trying to protect you now in your adulthood. But when you're an adult, you're more logic and you're wiser to know that you don't need to be scared of that. But the problem is you're running on autopilot. It's just a habit of yours. It's from your subconscious mind. You're not aware of it. So you just live your life doing the same thing over again, and it doesn't change. So beliefs are very important. And a lot of them are stored in our subconscious mind, but they affect the future. They affect how we are now.
No lie. Some people are really affected by those people's opinions. Maybe somebody commented them, maybe it could be a negative comment, and maybe somebody says to them something that is not as positive, and they believe whatever that somebody says. But what did you say about dealing with the fear of other people's opinions?
Yeah, it's a really big thing. Self-doubt in general, when we feel like we're doubting ourselves, there's always a fear behind it, whether it's fear of people's opinions, fear of embarrassment, fear of disappointment, fear of rejection, whatever it is. Fear of failure is a big one. When we doubt ourselves or we think we can't do something, it's always a fear. So we need to understand, what is that fear? And a very common one is fear of people's opinions. So what really helped me with that is understanding that people's opinions are based on their perception, right? And their perception is based on their experiences. So when somebody has an opinion on something, it's just how they've processed experiences in their lives and formed that opinion. But that doesn't mean that we have to take that as fact. So for example, if I try to explain that, let's say you have two children. You have child A and child B. They went into school. They're both wearing, let's say, a bright orange shirt, okay? Child A goes into school with a bright orange shirt, and all of his friends are like, wow, this is such a nice shirt. This is amazing. You look great. You know, they love the orange shirt. Then you've got child B who goes into school, and she's wearing an orange shirt, and all her friends are like, oh my gosh, what are you wearing? It looks so bad. You look really ugly in it. You look really, really awful. Why did you even think that's okay? So we have the same situation, two different children wearing the same shirt going in, but two different reactions. Child A will form the belief that, hey, this orange shirt is awesome. Look, my friends love it. It's great. I like it. It's cool. It's a good thing to do. Child B, she will form a different belief. She goes into school and everybody laughs at her. So she'll think, okay, I should never wear an orange shirt. Okay, so that tells us the same situation is neutral, but each child has a different meaning attached to it based on their experience, right? So they form a different belief. So that's what happens let's say it happened in their childhood and they grow up. Now, child A, let's call him man A, and we'll call child B woman B, okay? Man A goes to meet his friend one time, and his friend is wearing this orange shirt because he had a positive experience when he was young and he never formed any belief that orange shirts are bad. He'd be like, hey, that's a really cool shirt, looks good on you. But woman B, she had this negative experience in her childhood, so she goes to meet her friend is wearing an orange shirt. She gets triggered from that experience, and her subconscious mind thinks, oh, remember how you felt when you were young? Like, that's not a good thing. So she will say to her friend, hey, why are you wearing this orange shirt? Don't you know it looks really bad? Like, you shouldn't wear that. It's not a good look. Now, she's saying that because of her own experiences and how she perceived that and what belief she attached to it, and she's giving it to somebody else. She's showing her belief to her friend. Now, her friend hears that, okay? Let's say she woke up in the morning, she was like, I'm going to try on this new orange shirt I bought. I'm so excited. It looks great. And she goes to see her friend, woman B, and she hears the criticism from it. And she's like, oh, maybe I have it wrong. Maybe actually it's not a good shirt. Oh, I feel so embarrassed. Why did I wear it? So based on woman B's beliefs, she's now changed her own beliefs. But if we look at woman B's beliefs, she's thinking of something that happened when she was so young, and the children that laughed at her probably didn't even realize and were just doing it for fun. It doesn't mean anything. But it affected her so much that she carried it on to childhood, and she's now trying to pass it on to somebody else. So it's a bit of a long story, but I guess my point that I'm trying to make is when we listen to other people's opinions, we have to remember that it's based on their own experiences, and it doesn't mean that it has to be true for you. You get to decide if that is going to be fact for you or if you're going to make your own truth. And more often than not, someone's opinion is based on their own, if they have something negative to say, it's based on their own negative experience and how they chose to believe that's what that experience meant for them. We had the same situation, two different responses that caused two different beliefs that they've carried on to adulthood and is affecting their lives in different ways. So you don't have to choose to believe what somebody tells you. You make your own truth. That's what I would say.
Okay, as we conclude, what would be your last 3 pieces of advice for your listeners?
Yeah, okay. So I guess the first one would be, you have to have self-belief. That is so important, especially in this day and age where we're shown so many different things and we have so many different expectations put on us and what we can and can't do. You need to have unshakable self-belief, and only you get to decide what you can and can't do. And don't feed into what people tell you and their opinions. You make that choice, and all you need to do is just make that decision that you're going to believe in yourself, and what you don't know, you have everything within you to find out and realize that. So don't worry about it. You're going to be absolutely fine, and you just need to be your number one biggest fan. Like, believe in yourself, believe. Don't let anything shake you from that. When things happen and they don't work out how you want them to, reframe it in your mind. It's not a failure. It's just something, it didn't happen the way that you want it to. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough. You can find it in a different way. Every rejection is just a redirection. So I would just say, believe in yourself and don't let anybody bring you down or allow them into you enough to make you doubt yourself. Okay, so that's my first thing. My second thing would be, if you're feeling inconfident, do not worry. Okay, not everybody is confident in everything. It's a skill. So if you feel like you're doubting yourself and you'll never be good enough at something, please don't believe that, because you absolutely will. All it takes is practice. You just need to keep practice, develop that skill, and you'll become confident in it. So don't worry. If something is making you feel inconfident, you're not stuck there. In some time, however long it takes, you will eventually feel really confident in it if that's what you want to do. So that would be my second thing. And my final thing would be, one of the biggest things that hold us back in life is fear of failure. Okay, and I used to struggle with that a lot. But what changed for me is when I realized, I asked myself, what does failure mean to me? What do I see as failure? And what happened is, I used to see failure as success is here and failure is on the other side. Okay, so that used to stop me so much. I used to think, every time I failed at something, I'm so far away from success. But what changed for me is when I realized, to get to success, you have to go through so many failures. It's not on the other end. It's part of the process. Shift your mind to understand that each time you fail, you are one step closer to that success. So do not give up. Keep going. Push through the discomfort, push through the failures, and be happy knowing that you're one step closer. And it all starts with a decision to try on something. Okay, you want something, you make that decision that you're going to try. And once you try, you have two options at the end. You either succeed, okay, or you learn. There is no failure in this. It's only failure when you stop trying. But for as long as you keep trying, it's either succeed or learn. What I mean by learn is, when you try and it doesn't work out, you learn what not to do next. So now you can try differently, okay? And you keep trying. You try, you learn. You try, you learn. Eventually, you're going to try, and all the knowledge that you've got from trying, it's going to lead you to success. So there's no failure involved with that. It's only failure when you stop trying. So what I would say is, do not be afraid of failure. Don't be scared of it. It's a good thing. It means you're one step closer to success. So keep going.